The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time Jesus came to Jericho and intended to pass through the town. Now a man there named Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector and also a wealthy man, was seeking to see who Jesus was. He could not see him because of the crowd, for he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree in order to see Jesus, who ran about to pass that way, who was about to pass that way. When he reached the place, Jesus looked up and said, Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today I must stay at your house. He came down quickly and received him with joy. When they all saw this, they began to grumble, saying, he is gone to stay at the house of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, behold, half of my possessions, Lord, I shall give to the poor. If I have extorted anything from anyone, I shall repay it 4 times over. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a descendant of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save what was lost. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Just a few announcements. We always have a lot at the end. Sometimes people are in a rush. So we have the book of remembrance of our dead. During the month of November, which begins in just a few days, we will be praying for all those that you want us to remember in prayer. So if you have names of your loved ones that you want us to remember, write their names down, and during the week and on weekends, Father Marcel and I will make sure that these people are remembered specifically in prayer. It's important that we pray for the dead. It's a beautiful connection that we have. Think of how do we connect with our loved ones? It's through prayer. Powerful way. So don't hesitate to write their names. Secondly, sometimes when you're at Mass, you bring your little ones, and we love that. So I want to make that clear. But they may become sometimes a little unruly. You know what I mean. So don't ever hesitate when they do. See that room in the back? There's a reconciliation room. It's for confession. Don't be afraid to go in there. Use that if you want. There are chairs. Instead of having to stand on the back of a church sometimes, just go in there and close the door. Sit with them. There's a window you can see out. So don't hesitate to use that room in the back. It may be better for you too, because I'm sure parents get more nervous than anybody else. So I just want you to know, we love having kids here, and I want to make it easy for you. We used to have rocking chairs. We should get rocking chairs. I don't know where they went. I think they broke. But we should get rocking chairs again to put in the back. It's an idea. I just get an idea. Okay, so just to finish, finally, we are finishing up here. Painters are coming in this week. It took us time. People are busy, so we will be finishing up in the next few weeks the sanctuary. So again, thanks for your cooperation. And in terms of the fund drive, people sometimes say, we get a lot of letters. Well, that's part of the program. I'll send you letters. Don't worry about it. So I always say, give what you can. It's a program that wants to augment. In the next few weeks, we'll be talking about time and talent. We'll be working on that a little bit. So again, just do your best. I want to grow the parish. We grow it, as you know, we're growing it with music. We're growing it with our young adult ministry. We've just begun in the parish, which is going very well. So all those things take resources and time, talent. So I appreciate all you do. So that's it. A few months ago, I was contacted by a guy by the name of Nate Chapman. Nate lives in Allenstown. They call it Suncook. So Alex says, we'd like to invite you as our guest for Kairos. Kairos is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and you started Kairos. So, well, I did, but I said, I haven't been that involved. He says, well, you also in the first Kairos weekend that the state ever had. Kairos is a prison ministry. It was began 40 years ago in Florida. And it's like a Cursillo. A Cursillo is a weekend experience. It begins on a Thursday, ends on a Sunday afternoon. Many people here have made Cursillo. And they said it's what it is we go into the prison system. So here in New Hampshire, we've gone to Concord State Prison, Berlin State Prison, the federal prison in Berlin, the women's prison in Goffstown, and we also do what we call outside Cursillo. It's for women who have boyfriends, husbands, brothers, fathers who are inmates. We also do a Cursillo, Kairos for them. Kairos is a Greek word meaning time, but God's time. Not our time, but God's time. So anyways, when I arrived, when they had asked me if I would give a little witness, I said, well, I'm going to get there late because I have 4 o'clock Mass and then I have family formation. So I said, expect me around 7:30. So I get there at 7:25 and I walked into this huge room. There must have been over 200 people there, many who have worked on teams over the years. There was a woman from Florida representing the national movement. We're now in 35 states. And believe it or not, wardens are looking for Kairos to come in because it makes such a difference. So after I gave my witness, they invited one man who had been part of Kairos, but he was inside the jail when he made his. He had been in for embezzlement. He had embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he was in for 12 years, I think. So he made a Cursillo, and he was saying, when I made my Kairos, when I went in, it says, my wall around my heart was thicker than the wall around the prison. He says, the weekend itself didn't impress me much. So I thought all these guys who are in here, who are nice to me and loving me, says, this is phony. But at the end of the weekend, he decided to go back to the chapel. We do follow-up. I did it for years up at Concord. He says, we do follow-up. And he says, I went to the follow-up, and I realized that these guys who had come in were for real. Anyways, what happened is he was transformed over the years. Kairos, once he got out of prison, called him and asked him to become the state treasurer of the movement. God bless America. There's hope for everybody. And then besides that, he ended up going to work after he left prison. Somebody hired him for $6 an hour. He began working for them and with time bought out their business. Today he's a very fruitful businessman. He's married, he's got 12 grandchildren. Just goes to show what God's grace can do. Another woman who was there, whose husband was in prison, stood up and again shared a very similar story in terms of when she was asked to do Kairos outside. She said, I don't need this. She felt very embittered because she says when you're the wife of a prisoner, you feel that you're always being looked at and judged. And she says, I felt embarrassed to go anywhere. And when I went to this Kairos outside, I felt people for once accepted me for who I was and loved me. So she became very involved. She was at the dinner last night with her husband, and at the end we were, like I said, hundreds of us. A prisoner from Concord made us each a little cross that we could wear around our necks. And as we left last night, we were given a cross. A Thing of Beauty wrote, this wasn't part of my homily, but now this is. This all happened last night, so I didn't get a chance to really write this down. But now here goes. A Thing of Beauty wrote John Keats in 1818 is a joy forever. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Father Gilhooly writes, someone has written that as Christians, we should love beauty. He went on to say that where beauty is apparent, we should enjoy it. Where beauty is hidden, we should unveil it. Where beauty is defaced, we should restore it. Where there is no beauty at all, we should create it. The latter is exactly what Jesus did in today's gospel. His subject was a crooked tax collector. With his help, the Christ turned him into an object of beauty. So effective was the transformation that the world has placed the former gangster, Zacchaeus, in the Hall of Fame. He will remain there until Jesus returns for us. Imagine what the Christ might do with us if we allow him. Frederick Buechner writes of Zacchaeus, I love this. He climbs up a sycamore, a crook, and climbs down a saint. Climbs up a sycamore, a crook, but climbs down a saint. 30 years ago when I was first approached by a man named Russ Sweeney to begin Kairos in the diocese, I had no idea what I was doing. But like everything else, I usually say yes. So I said, well, let's do it. And so we began Kairos. Now I was thinking last night, my drive back home, imagine what a yes from any person can do. How it can transform lives. We're not even aware of it. And sometimes we're not even part of it anymore. But the fact that we were willing to say yes to the Lord at a particular time can have a huge impact on society. And so, think of Zacchaeus. Now, Zacchaeus was not just the ordinary tax collector. He was a guy who hired other tax collectors to do his dirty work. He really did. So he may have had 6, 7 guys who did his work for him, and then they paid him off. So he was a real crook. So you can see where he was hated, very much disliked. When they saw Zacchaeus in the street, they may have spat on him. They may have walked the other way. So not only was he small in stature physically, but he may have been embarrassed about all of his doings, his wrongdoings. And so in today's gospel, here's this man who's small in stature, who decides to climb the sycamore tree. And when he gets there, the last thing he expects is to be noticed. He wants to get away from the crowd. And what does Jesus do? He sees him and he says, Zacchaeus, come down. This very day, I want to go to your house. Another translation says, I want to sup with you. I want to have dinner with you. And you don't have dinner with people you dislike. You invite to dinner people that you want to get to know. And so Jesus goes to his home. That's why meals are so important. Huh? Don't underestimate the importance of meals. Don't underestimate it. Meals are important. Spend time eating with your kids. Sundays or one day of the week. Because I know that's becoming less and less a practice in homes. It's a shame. It's where you meet, you encounter the heart of any situation is at a meal. So that's where Jesus encounters Zacchaeus. See, Jesus is a good psychologist. He had a degree in psychology. So he invites Zacchaeus to have a meal. He listens to his story. And at the end of the meal, notice what he says. He says this, behold, half of my possessions, Lord, I shall give to the poor. And if I have extorted anything from anyone, I shall repay it fourfold. 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 What happened to Zacchaeus? He went through a conversion, a powerful conversion. His life was changed. It's like this man that I heard last night. His life was changed from embezzlement to being treasurer of a movement to now owning his own business. It's what love does. Love transforms us. There's hope for everyone. Sometimes we can look at our own situations and think we're bad, we're no good, but yet we have a God who constantly reminds us that there's always a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. It's never too much for God. His love is infinite. During this year of mercy, we've heard it time and time again, that God's mercy is so vast, it encompasses everyone. Any sin. The only thing is we need to respond. We can stay behind a wall like that man did for years, not just a physical wall, but a spiritual wall. We can build these thick walls around our heart and refuse to acknowledge the presence of God. But once we do, we're transformed, we're changed. Isn't that what the story is all about today? It's a story of beauty. It's a story of transformation. So let me go back to that beautiful quote. Where beauty is apparent, we should enjoy it. Where there is no beauty at all, we should create it. Where beauty is defaced, we should restore it. Where beauty is hidden, we should unveil it. So oftentimes we may feel like crooks. We may feel as if we're not worthy. But the Lord wants us to know that no matter what our state is in life, He calls us down the sycamore or wherever we're at, because He wants us all to live like King's kids, people who are saints, holy. By that I mean put together, not by what we do, but by what He does in us. So this weekend, as we celebrate Zacchaeus, as we hear about this little man, he calls each one of us, John and Martha and Mary and Larry, he calls us all, it doesn't matter, because He loves us. He wants us to know that there is nothing that's unforgivable. And when His love does touch us, not only are we transformed, but we can transform our environment.